time?
Yes, ma'am.
Very well. Good morning, everyone. Let's call this meeting to order for Commissioners Court for Polk County for July 23rd, 2024 in the Polk County Regional Health Building, Suite A. If you have not done so already, please mute or turn off all your cell phones and other devices. At this time, we would like to ask Brian Wharton from Onalaska Methodist Church to please come lead us in prayer.
I invite you to bow with me. Gracious and merciful God, we give you thanks for the gift of this day, the gift of this next breath. Forgive us in the passing of this day if we lose sight of how precious all of your gifts are. Remind us, speak to us, call us back to your side, and set us once more on your path. I pray, O God, that as this group gathers this morning, that your blessings would fall heavy in this room. That it would be your wisdom that speaks through us, your ears with which we hear each other, and your voice with which we use to speak to each other. Guide us, lead us, and help us as we attempt to be stewards of the resources of a community, as we attempt to shepherd the sheep that you have put in our flock, that we would be found faithful in all of our tasks. And so come, we pray. Lead us and guide us in all things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody sign up for public comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so at this time, we're gonna go into the public hearing. What time is it?
10:02.
10:02 starting time. Notice of this hearing was published in the Polk County Enterprise on June 23rd, 2024. A copy of the proposed subdivision regulations is on the website, and also the copy of the takings impacted assessment was also on the website. And so at this time, the regulations with proposed changes were emailed to all the commissioners on June 12th and were posted on the website as well for public inspection. The changes that have been recommended and posted for review are as follows. On page 13, referring to exemption from subdivision regulations, when an owner is dividing one tract into two parts, one new part is to be retained at least 12 months by the owner, and the other new part to be transferred to another person. Page 20, referring to plat requirements, submit one original plat on 18 by 24 translucent bond medium paper or Mylar printed in black ink on white material, and 5 copies of the same size. Changes to this effect were also made in Appendix A of the plat application guidelines. Page 23, number 44, certificate of on-site sewage facility inspector's approval was modified to certificate of county floodplain administrator's approval, see Appendix H1, and if applicable, certificate of designated representative approval, see Appendix H2. The stars indicate this information is required on the plat. So changes to this effect were also made on page 43 of Polk County subdivision plating checklist. Page 23, number 50 was added, revision to plat, see Appendix O. Page 25, referring to replat fees, a deposit of $400 plus required retainer for engineer review, see Appendix T, shall be paid to Polk County when lots is required in order to meet the requirements of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, TCEQ. Page 33, add the following statement. The area of any lot within the road right-of-way shall be subtracted from the overall lot size to determine the minimum lot size. Page 51, Appendix H has been revised as H1 and H2. H1 is required on every plat, and H2 is required if applicable. Page 68, Appendix U, affidavit for recordation of tax certificate. The original tax certificates attached to this affidavit describe all the property contained within a subdivision and all taxing entities with jurisdiction over the subdivision. Remove the plat of the subdivision. Do we have anybody from the public that wishes to comment? Okay, give people a few minutes to see if they show up. Randy, you look nice and chill, not in uniform.
Still on light duty.
In case anyone's struggling. Page one, what time is it?
10:06.
Okay, 10:06, we're gonna close the hearing. Okay, considering in all necessary action to adopt the proposed Polk County subdivision regulations, a copy of the proposed subdivision regulations is included for review and was also emailed to the commissioners on June 12th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Cassidy, second Commissioner Dulos. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, informational reports. Okay, I do have to say that our little county has gotten hammered between the April flooding and then Beryl. And they basically promised us that Beryl was just gonna be moving right on through here very quickly. Well, Beryl came through quickly, all right, and she came fast and furious. So I did ask, obviously our emergency management personnel are a tad occupied right now. But there are a couple of things, so I did ask them for an update. In terms of ourselves, we need to be very, very careful that you keep the two events separated. Okay, that we don't commingle anything, because remember that with the water events, with the flooding, we have FEMA involved, and they have certain requirements. But with Beryl, right now, we do not have any public assistance, and I don't think there's any reason why we would have public assistance for Beryl. We only have individual assistance, which means that only our community members, our residents, will be able to ask for assistance from FEMA. And we're doing everything we can to provide them with that assistance, but we have to be very, very cautious about keeping those two events separated. So I did ask emergency management to provide us with some of the, kind of the timeline, so that you could see that this was, not only was Beryl coming through fast and furious, but I do have to say huge, huge thanks to all of our elected officials, all of our staff members, everybody that stepped up to the plate, because it was a lot happening all at one time. So the EOC activated at 6 a.m. on July 8th to monitor the landfall and track it. On the morning of July 8th, we got hit as a tropical storm, and the highest wind gusts were reported at 61 miles an hour. If you will recall, they told us that they would probably not exceed 40 on the news, so that 20 miles an hour makes a huge difference. Immediately, we received reports of downed trees and power outages, and by mid-afternoon, approximately 98% of Polk County was out of power. Electric providers communicated that it would take days to restore. The generator at the EOC unfortunately experienced a voltage issue, and so we had to relocate the EOC staff all over the place. We invaded basically the Port Sheriff's Office, took over their conference room. Then some of us had to go to the Commerce Center, because we could not access internet or cell phone service. It was just, so IT kept us going, the sheriff's office kept us going, everyone from aging to HR to procurement, everybody stepped in, and so I do have to say we really appreciate that. So we were in the office, sheriff's office for 2 days. Finally, we were able to go back to the EOC. During that period of time, we opened, bless you, we opened 5 cooling centers or charging centers, and we opened a shelter for oxygen-dependent persons, and they were at the Polk County Commerce Center. We distributed emergency commodities, MREs, ice and water, to approximately 5,000 vehicles at our point of distribution site over a 4-day period. We provided pallets of commodities to the volunteer fire departments in city to distribute in their areas as well. An oxygen strike team requested by the AOC delivered oxygen to the homes of oxygen-dependent residents, and that team responded to 160 different calls. When finally we started getting power restorations completed, we were able to deactivate on July 13th. So you see how fast and furious it was. From July 8th to July 13th for the EOC. That doesn't mean that any of our other departments did not have to continue to work. It just means that the declaration, the emergency itself, was shut down. So the EOC was no longer fully staffed. We are still picking up limbs, picking up debris, and moving forward with services. So once again, we're staging disaster debris. It must be related to Beryl. It has to be on the roads, just like we always had before. And the debris contractors will be back to assess the debris that we have from Beryl and to see how they need to proceed from there. I think we're all aware also that this has been predicted to be an interesting hurricane season. And so we probably need to make sure that we once again reiterate to the public and to all of our staff members and elected officials to be prepared for a hurricane. You know, usually hurricanes, you can see them coming for miles and miles and miles and miles, unless they show up one place and then twist around and come back to visit you, right? So we do need to be prepared, because this is the beginning of hurricane season, and we've already gotten hit twice. So a huge thanks really to everyone in this room that I see that's a staff member or elected official for all your help, because I think it makes a huge difference to the residents of Polk County, and I appreciate it. Okay, any other informational reports from elected officials? Nope, very well. Item number 7, old business. All of these were deemed to be routine. All of these were deemed to be routine nature and not scheduled for individual consideration. You have an addendum on B in the amount of $83,874,000.46. Is there anything that anybody would like to pull off the consent agenda?
We can do
Oh.
table minutes.
Table the minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. They were tabled last time, we're tabling them again?
No, the June the 25th was the ones that were tabled.
Okay,
We're just
gotcha.
tabling the July 11th.
Well, I got a motion on that, right? Cassidy and Robinson?
No, you approved 7, but on 8, we have the minutes for July the 11th.
Oh, okay, so you're telling me to pull
The last,
something?
yes.
Okay.
Pull the.
Okay,
pull
so
8.
pull the minutes. Will do. And that is item number
8.
H.
Letter A.
Got it. Okay, anything else anybody would like to pull? Okay, motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item A. I'll need a motion. Commissioner Robertson, second Commissioner Cassidy. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, consider approval of personnel matters as follows. Review and consideration of personal action form requests submitted by department heads since the last meeting, and review of any authorized emergency hires. At this time, we have no emergency hires. A motion to approve, Commissioner Dugas, second Commissioner Cassidy. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, consider request for revisions and amendments to the budget as follows. The FY 2024 budget revisions and amendments as presented by the County Auditor's Office. A copy of the proposed revisions numbered 2024-17 and amendments 2024-17A is included in your packet for your review.
So moved.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Cassidy, second Commissioner Dugas. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, consider approval of 5-year lease agreement with Pitney Bowes, is it Bowes or Bowes? Bowes. For postage machine at the sub courthouse in Corrigan. USPS is mandating new industry-wide technology requirements for postage meters, and the machine utilized at the sub courthouse in Corrigan is no longer in compliance. Mailers using out-of-date meter technology must migrate and transfer all related postage funds to a compliant solution by December 31st, 2024. Because Polk County owns the meter being used now, the auditor's office requested quotes to replace the machine either by purchase or lease. The lease agreement includes the machine and maintenance with quarterly fixed payments for 5 years. Alternatively, we could purchase the machine and rent a meter, and maintenance would be a separate cost. The purchasing and procurement office did look into alternative options, but with the amount of mail generated from the sub courthouse, the postage meter is the most efficient option. The annual cost to lease this machine is $1,202.76 and can be paid from general operations postage line item. It includes language allowing it to be terminated at the end of the fiscal year in the event that funds are not appropriated for the following budget year. What is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion.
Motion to lease? Okay, motion to lease, Commissioner Robertson. Second Commissioner Dugas. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12, consider approval of mutual aid interlocal agreement between Polk County and San Jacinto County. The San Jacinto County Jail experienced some extensive damage during Hurricane Beryl. Sheriff Lyons agreed to house as many inmates for San Jacinto as he could at the Polk County Jail. The agreement, which is included for review, outlines the terms and conditions under which Polk County will provide detention services for San Jacinto County for the inmates at their jail. This will be effective as of July 15th and will automatically terminate on December 31st. San Jacinto County will pay Polk County $25 per inmate per day. Either party may terminate the agreement prior to December 31st with 30 days written notice. And they made some agreements because of staffing issues and so forth to make sure that our jail does not end up in a jam either. So there's some give and take there, but San Jacinto County is our neighbor, so we want to make sure that we take care of them if we can. Legal counsel has reviewed and approved this agreement. Is there anything y'all want to add to that?
The reason why it's $25 a day, because they're supplying staff. They supply medical, they supply food, they supply indigent supplies for the inmates. It also brings our staff numbers up because we can count their staff, so our overtime.
Yeah, I see you Dawson grinning over there.
So our overtime is being cut because now we have staff up to our numbers, using their staff.
Sounds.
That's the reason why it's so low.
Do you want me to go ahead and go through, I have the information on here for the commissioners. I can go ahead and read it so it's out in public.
That's, yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
So Polk County will provide secure custody, care, and safekeeping on the same basis as provided to our own inmates. Sheriff Lyons will limit the number of inmates accepted to the number of available beds. San Jacinto County will provide transportation to and from the county jail, food, personal hygiene items, routine medical services, medication, and medical personnel, and jailers to care for the San Jacinto inmates. That work? Okay, I need a
Well,
motion.
the only question I have, Andy, and I know y'all probably done the research on it, is if their staff is over here, if something happens to them, if y'all already, like workman's comp or?
It'd be covered under their workers' comp. So they're still working, covering their, guarding their inmates, so it's gonna be covered under them. We're doing this to help them keep their staff employed, because the inmates they sent to Walker County, they're not sending staff there. So it helps both counties both ways. Like I said, our overtime's been cut now because we have the staff.
I mean, I understood
Yeah.
that part, I was just worried about if something happens to their staff.
It's covered under
Yeah,
Sandra.
they're- okay.
So what are the odds if all of a sudden we get a lot of people in jail arrested? I mean, if so happens what works in, we get overcrowded.
Yeah, so if we have an influx of inmates that come in for our county, the St. Center counties will be moved to Walker County.
They've
So
been-
we'll make our beds available, so we'll continue to arrest to keep the citizens here safe.
Yeah, so basically, we're only housing out the beds. Like the chief said, because if they would house out to everybody else, then they would have to lay off the jailers, which would be crazy, because, when they get it fixed. So they already have contracts with Brazoria County and Walker County. So they have enough beds down there, so if they had to, they would move them
Yeah, it's a
down.
backup plan, yes.
Yes.
Automatic.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Okay, so I need a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Dubus, Commissioner Robertson, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 13, discuss and consider any and all necessary action related to rebid number 2024-17, cutting and purchase of timber on tracts of land known as William Jones Abstract 39, tract 16-2A, 17-2A, 18-2A, 22-4, and 24-1. The deadline for rebid passed, but unfortunately it happened during the disaster. And so Commissioner Purvis has requested authorization from the court to move forward with pay-as-you-go agreement with timber companies, and which would be 7 feet for $23, 9 inch for $25, 7 inch for $23, 5 inch for $12, 3 and 4 at $7, pine pulpwood at $4, hardwood pulpwood at $2, hardwood logs at $41, and poles at $50. And then whoever wants them can come get them.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Robertson, Commissioner Dubose, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. When he gets back, we're gonna tell him we tabled it.
You don't think
14.
he'll watch
Huh?
you don't think he watches the video?
No.
No, he's on vacation. Number 14, discuss and consider any and all necessary action regarding approval to advertise a request for bids for foundation repair at the Dunbar Complex. The maintenance office received a work order from adult probation about some trouble spots in the floor, causing issues with furniture. The floor, once again, was not level. Maintenance reached out to Old Shan, who previously re-leveled the building in 2017. Bless you. They determined that the building needs new pilings and provided 2 quotes included for your review to resolve the issue. The building is pier and beam construction with stations underneath, and it's moving again and is going to be subject to needing adjustments continuously the way it currently is. The first proposal from Old Shan adjusts everything. If the court goes this route, we will have to continue readjusting the building every 7 to 15 years. In 2017, the cost was $39,960. The proposal to do so now is $53,210. The second proposal from Old Shan is to drive piles under the entire structure. These are driven at least 15 feet and provide lasting support. The proposal for this work from Old Shan is $114,910. Okay, so basically, and then after that, it's $200 per adjustment under a lifetime warranty. Due to the cost, we probably need to go out for bids prior to moving forward. Basically, what we need to know from the court is, do you want the bid process to include both options?
What is lifetime? Is that for the company that does this work, if their lifetime, but they could be out there lifetime?
Just a lifetime warranty on them.
Yeah, but I think you
On the
should
work.
do both, if you're gonna send it out for bid, let them do both for certain.
Very well.
I so moved.
Motion to that effect from Commissioner Cassidy, second Commissioner Dugas. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. One thing about our building too, that we do need to make sure that it is someone, that it has a good reputation like Olshan, which is what the court decided to do last time, is because keep in mind that that is a historic building. It's not, we're not following historic commission rules with it because it was modified by prior courts. But nevertheless, it is a historic building and a very unusual building because it's one of the first black community schools that was built by the community. Okay, item number 15, budget workshop. Okay, we're gonna start by that we're going to have to schedule a special meeting for July 30th to approve our budget. There have been delays in the FY 2025 budget development process, and an additional workshop is needed prior to posting our proposed budget, which must be published by the end of July. So obviously, we're getting it close on the July 30th. To approve the publication of proposed increases in salaries of elected county and precinct offices, to receive the no new revenue and voter approval tax rates, to vote on the proposed tax rate, and to schedule public hearings on the tax rate and budget adoptions. Carrie went and sat down with Tatum. Is Tatum here? She went and sat down with Tatum, and they're still working through some of the changes, and along with Chad, and they will come up with what our tax rate needs to be, what our voter approval rate will be, that kind of stuff, but we really cannot make final decisions. We have some estimates that obviously are in the budget book, but at this time, we do not have any final numbers, and so we need to hold off until we have those numbers, but we are scrunching into legislative deadlines. So on July 30th, when would y'all like to meet?
Earlier the better.
10, same normal, okay? Very well. Okay, 15B, discuss budget development. Okay, what we've done, ma'am, do we need a motion on that one?
Well, actually, that would be best, but could we do 2 o'clock?
What's that? We said 2?
I know we have 10, but you have other meetings that morning, so.
Okay, 2 gives us more
2 o'clock
time?
would give us the time.
Okay. Sorry, Commissioner, 2. But we have other elected officials that have to be involved, and entities if we're going to engage Chad as well. Okay, so you have a new budget book in front of you. It's as updated as we can get it at this point in time. First of all, let me tell you, there are a few things that were not included that may end up being in this budget, so potential changes. One is that we're looking at additional phone options for the entire county. So we will be researching that, and that should prevent, hopefully, make it easier during emergencies for law enforcement, for emergency responders, for everybody to communicate. So we are reassessing all of our phone options to try to find some better alternatives, and then we will go from there. So none of those potential costs are in this budget right now, because we don't know what they may look like. The other thing is that we also received a request to potentially add a time clock for the jail Fern was going to start reviewing that information and get some options. That was something that had been considered before, but then got dropped. And so this will eliminate some of the issues that we've had with regards to timesheets, and hopefully make that a little bit more streamlined. Dunbar, the probation department, same thing with the building, so that's not included at this point in time. Also in this draft budget, nothing has changed with personnel. Right now, we are talking to other counties to see how they are moving, and what they are doing, and researching other options for what we can do. So at this time, you still have the original recommendation, which was for the 100 level to get the 3-step adjustment, on the 200 to have the 3% discretionary. I will tell you this, I think we've pretty much established that there's no way, with personnel, there's no way that we can do an across-the-board 7.5% to 10%. For one, within the next 5-6 years, then we would have to eliminate some of those positions. And obviously, the positions that usually get eliminated are the employees that are the most knowledgeable, the most experienced, because they're making the most money. So we don't want to get ourselves in a situation where then we have to review our personnel and eliminate positions because we can't afford it. So we have to look at the long-term effect and affordability. Okay. If you'll look at your first page, basically that gives you the 2025, the change. If you will look at our minerals, we've had a decrease of not quite 12%. And so the total net value that we have currently for budgeting purposes is 3.3%. Now, part of this is that obviously we're not seeing the same increases that we saw before. One is that development across the county is stabilizing. New construction has started leveling out. It's not exploding the way that it was before. We still have plenty of subdivisions, but that doesn't necessarily bring in revenue. And then the other thing is that if you will recall, the legislature gave that large homestead exemption to all of our taxpayers, which is much appreciated, and it just means that we're gonna have to adjust our income and how we proceed. At this time, this budget has 96% collection rate in it. And again, we will review all of that with Tatum. You have your rates for, total rate for it, and for the budget, for this budget, it's at 0.583. So you have the breakdown for your debt service fund rate, your general fund rate, your road and bridge fund rate. The first thing that has to be paid is debt. It is not an option. So the debt, our current debt service, takes up 10.857.1% of our taxes. Then the general fund gets approximately 63,000, and road and bridge fund rate gets approximately 26,000. And again, this is based on our current tax rate, and so when that gets changed, or if it gets modified, well then those numbers will change. So that's your combined information on that. Are there any questions on this page? I know it's just gonna take some time for everybody to take a look at it. Okay, then turn to the next page. This is the page you all are interested in anyway. And so it goes through and it tells you the adjusted precinct funding, the revenues, takes into portion the base funding, which is precinct 1 at 22%, precinct 2 at 23%, precinct 3 at 27%, and precinct 4 at 28%, for a total of 100. And then you also have some adjustments made for expenses and for debt, etc. The bottom line, which is the one that you all are interested in, reflects right now an increase of $695,228 to Road and Bridge. It also includes your scheduled equipment portion of the tax rate to pay off debt. Okay. Okay, once again, the debt schedule, we always make sure to review this multiple times. This year, our Series 2018 tax notes will roll off, and the issue rate on those was 2.87. So if you look down below, you'll see that those were our most expensive ones, and so they will be rolling off this year. The 2019 tax notes were at 2.3%. The 2020 tax notes were at 1.291%, and the 2021 were at 1.2099. So those are all going to start rolling off as well. The general obligation funds for the expansion of the jail will roll off in 2027. So we still have them. And then the next page is the Road and Bridge portion of the debt and the breakdown for each one of y'all. The debt requirement for Road and Bridge 1 is $23,984.45. Road and Bridge number 2 debt requirement is $34,043.66. Road and Bridge 3 has none, and the debt requirement for Road and Bridge 4 is $56,585.64. Okay, the next page we get to. We went ahead and ordered a book for each of you all from TAC. You can actually ask them to send you those directly, so you don't necessarily have to go through us. Okay, this goes through, this is the notice for Commissioners Court for the recommendation for salaries. As you all know, there was an adjustment that, and I accept full responsibility for that needed to be made. Basic are JPs. We moved our JPs from making $38,000 a year to making the same amount of money as our other elected officials. And at that time, part of the logic was, and Darrell Longino told us, if we don't get that up a little bit, well then we're not gonna be able to get good people to run for JP, because that's not enough money for them to commit to a full-time job. So the court didn't hesitate on that. However, part of what happened was when we did that, and then we started adding travel money to them, then that took them above your district clerk, your county treasurer, your tax assessor collector. So my recommendation still remains that we take those four, that what we've done in the past is that all your elected officials basically make the same money. But what I'm recommending is that those people that have responsibilities that are countywide, that we take them to 65, and then that your people that are limited to just precinct responsibilities go to 59, and then that will allow also for the travel allowance for the JPs. And then also, if you look at the bottom, you'll see where we made some changes with regards to Constable Myers, Precinct 3. We were finally able to get some answers from the comptroller about how we could proceed, since they're going to change office, since Ray Myers is exiting, and Kevin Berman is coming in, but Kevin does not take office until January 1st. But because of his previous activity, then they said we could include him in there. So that's why you see that has been also elevated to the 45,000. So that's the SB 22 monies. That will make all of our constables eligible for SB 22 monies, and that's what the change is in there, specifically for Ray Myers' position. So really, that should be Ray Myers / Kevin Berman. But Kevin Berman doesn't get sworn in until January, so he can't be on something like this. Okay. That's my recommendation to the court. Any comments or questions on that? Okay, changes. There's some very minimal changes. There were some changes that were made in terms of current taxes or our revenues. And so if you look at page 1 of 124, if you look at the very top, then you'll see it says the work draft. That's the last draft that we gave you. And then what is in this one, which is what is now in our proposed, and it shows you the change, if any, that were made. But that allows you to compare every page, you know, when you go through and you review your information. So, some of the changes that we want to point out is if you go to page 4, Form 5, at the bottom of page 4, we have Trinity County and San Jacinto County, their pro rata reimbursement. Carrie went back and checked the census data, and so based on the census data, there's going to be a decrease in what we request from especially Trinity County, and there's going to be an increase in Polk's share compared to the other two counties. So those changes have occurred. And that's part of what happens is as we're working through the budget, things start, when changes happen, then they have to be incorporated immediately, and we have to work pretty fast. Okay, on page 7, at the very bottom, rent, county property. What you see is some changes there, and that's the Mitchell's Funeral Home that was in Corbin. So the rent for county property has gone down because we sold the building. And that building sold for over $150,000. Okay, and then on page 8, on the inmate phone, IH detention, 010-370-7425. We increased that because the expenses have gone down for us. And so if there's some modifications, we don't know what IH will do, but if there are some modifications that need to be made later, then we will incorporate them. But for now, we have eliminated that since that expense has gone away. Okay, since there were no changes necessarily made in personnel, then there aren't a whole lot of changes otherwise until we get our final rate, tax rate, until we're able to sit down with Tatum and Chad and kind of work through the numbers, make sure we're correct, and go from there. The money is still in here, it just has not been allocated any differently than it was originally. Okay, one thing that I think is of note is on page 123. If you look at the fund summary, then what it does is it goes through and it tells you what the differences are in terms of what we budgeted, what is requested, what we budgeted, and then what is proposed. And so it shows you how closely we are able to get with the way we're working through it and not have a whole lot of changes or deficiencies that occur. So review that page. And it shows you also the activity. It shows you the budget and then the activity for 2022, and then the budget and the activity for 2023. And so basically you have the way that we track information as we go along, because decisions that are made in this office need to reflect long-term decisions and not shift around a whole lot. And it's based on historical information. Okay. The last page, our tax notes. Once again, in 2023, there was no issue. And in 2024, we did not issue tax notes either because we used our surplus depository interest to pay for that. And right now, currently, what we have on our capital purchase projections is a total amount of $329,350. And that's emergency management for a vehicle aftermarket equipment in the amount of $7,025. AgriLife needs a livestock trailer in the amount of $25,000. Handheld radios for the sheriff's, constable, district attorney, emergency management, environmental enforcement, and the fire marshal in the amount of $150,000. Courthouse furniture, desks, filing cabinets, everything to replace, $100,000. The county clerk's request for more voting equipment in the amount of $24,850. The tax office has a server in the amount of $24,500. And the sheriff's office domain server in the amount of $30,000. And even though those are in specific offices, they have come through IT. Any questions? It's such an exciting subject. Okay, C is to discuss proposed salaries, expenses, and allowances of elected officials for the FY 2025, which was in here for your consideration. This has to be published, and so we need to know now, what the court's pleasure is. Because the notice has to be sent to all these elected officials today.
I'm reading it right. What we're proposing here is 14% pay rate. From 57,000 to 65.
Yes, sir. Do you wish to go down on that?
14%, isn't it?
But what we've historically done is all the countywide officials make the same money.
All what?
All the countywide officials made the same money. So what I did was I took everybody to the 65. And we had discussed what y'all wanted to do with your travel allowance. And so that's why that stayed the way it was. That was the request. So, but to get these other individuals to 65, if the court wishes to maintain everyone else equal, then that's the only way to do it.
I'm not comfortable
Okay.
taking that big of a jump.
No, And I agree with.
I'm
I
on
agree with
7.5
that.
or something like that, I'm not comfortable with that 14.
So you wanna take the commissioners to 60 and leave the other four at 65?
No, I'm gonna take everybody at 7.5.
So how are you gonna equalize those four individuals? Because then we'll have the same problem.
That's, you go at 7.5, that's almost $4,300 a year more. I mean, if you're trying to keep everybody equal.
Not from here down.
Huh?
Not from here down,
Yeah.
from here up.
And if you don't want to spread it anymore, I mean, I'm for just.
I don't care if we spread it anymore.
Well-
I'm just saying that if you take the district clerk, the county treasurer, and the tax assessor collector, if you take them down to 60,000, then you will not have done anything for them. Because now they're still gonna be bumping up right down here with your JPs.
Yeah.
See, you will not have accomplished anything. And the whole idea is that we have got to create some distance between them. I'm not averse to having them make 65,
But this is a salary we're talking about, correct?
yes.
So it doesn't matter if they, a salary is a salary as far as whether they cover the whole county or don't cover the whole county. If we cover expenses, that's one thing. If we're covering salary, then we're looking at salary.
Yes, sir, we're looking at a salary. That's what we're looking at. And if you look in their TAC book, you're gonna see that those four individuals are the lowest paid individuals in our entire area for that position. We pay for the position. We pay for the position. Just on, we can't, if the logic applied for the JPs and for the constables, then why would the logic not apply to your district clerk, your county clerk, your tax assessor collector, and your treasurer? They have more responsibility than anybody just about, because they are responsible. The district clerk, I think I put some explanation of their responsibilities in there, and certainly Bobby can help me here. But the district clerk is responsible for all the work that comes out of the four JPs and the work that comes out of two district judges.
Well,
What
I
if
mean,
we-
I
what if
understand
we-
that.
What if we left the, like those people, the district and county and clerk and those at this salary, and then the commissioners, we went and, you
And go
know,
to 60. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
and took us down there.
Yeah.
Because I know these positions, they all work their rears off.
Well,
Not
and
that we
and
don't,
we're-
but.
And we're paying for a position.
Uh-huh.
You see what I'm saying?
That's
We're not
right.
paying, we're not saying this one works harder than that one. We're paying for a position. And compared to other counties in our area, we are not paying them enough for their position, for the work that they do. Now, again, I think I told y'all when we went through it, that the commissioners, the JPs, the constables, and the sheriff, all of those positions are pretty equitable compared to everyone else. The only place we are not equitable is with those four spots. And
Well,
we need
if you
to,
wanna go back to talking about the work that they do, now you still, like I said before, you still have, even the JPs, you have 2 and 4 that do more than
yes, sir,
those as well,
But-
and have more on their plate.
but back to the same thing, we pay for the position.
Not the person.
We pay for the position, not the person. So we pay for the position, and that's what the taxpayers elect you to do. So if the taxpayers decide, or the voters decide, that you are not doing their job, well then, they will take care of you. Now, what we do is that is why these 4 positions are not staffed the same. That's why they're not staffed equally. And there are some adjustments that will probably need to be made in terms of staffing. But I could no more compare the 4 commissioners and say, well, you work a whole lot harder than that one over there does. That's up to the voters to decide that. Right? So we pay for the position, the county pays for the position. I happen to think that those are the 4 greatest ones in the state of Texas, but that doesn't mean that we can then say, oh, well, they're worth way more money than any other single elected individual in the state. I do not have a problem. Let's take the court down, okay? Let's take the court down by the 5,000 or 4,000, whatever your preference might be. But I do not wish to take.
I'm cutting my throat right along with them. I'm not saying that. But is it their salary that's not competitive, or is it what we pay their employees that's not competitive?
But right now, we're talking about.
Actually, it's both, but right now,
We're
we're
talking
talking
about-
about them. As an elected official, that's what we are talking about.
That's what the.
Further down the road, we're gonna end up talking about both. So, if you took each of us on the court down, okay, by 5, then that takes care of your concern about the percentage, right? And that keeps them intact. In terms of how much we pay.
So right now, what you're saying is, or proposing is 7.5% for plus 5, and then keep them at 65.
That's what I think.
That's
is-
what you.
If you
is that
took,
what you
yeah,
propose?
yeah, if we took each of the commissioners down to 60,000, right? Plus, your travel allowance stays at 20. Sorry, I took out $38.25. Just complicates the math.
But, no, I mean, I understand, and to keep good health, and I know they're all very good, but I'm also, I know it's tough for everybody, including the taxpayers out there, which we're all taxpayers also, so, I just can't see 14%.
I wish we could just take less for us and give more to the employees. I mean,
Well, but right now, we need to focus on the, you know.
I know we
then
need to
come back
focus on, but we have to make our decision on ours now.
Yep. Otherwise, we're a day late and $1 short, because this
Yeah.
decision has to be made today.
That's what I'm. saying,
That's
you
why
know,
the
We take ours
information.
now.
Well, that's what I've said
we're
a while
still gonna
ago.
have less
was-
for the employees
but
when we make theirs.
I'm okay with taking us down, but I really feel very strongly about these other positions, leaving those as they are.
I agree, and that was part of why, when I asked y'all for suggestions or recommendations, we talked about taking the travel money down, that way the salary stayed the same. So there are other options, you just need to tell me what you want to consider. What came back was exactly what's right there. And part of the reason for the adjustment was because if you look back historically at what had been done for employees, right? We gave them a 10% increase, okay, which no elected officials got.
Right.
And then we did the 5% for them to receive also, which none of the elected officials got. And then you had the 5% that was across the board, which is where some of the elected officials benefited. And so this is just an adjustment to where you've lined up your employees with your elected officials, but we still need to work on our. Bless you.
Well, I know for us five, I'm gonna vote 7.5%, or I'll vote 7.5%, and I'll go with 10% for the four, but I don't care what
Come out of salary or it can come out of traffic. Both of them go into your retirement. So that's not. Carrie, do we have a copy of the sheet that we gave them last time showing them compared to other counties?
The tax survey?
Hmm?
The tax survey?
Yeah.
Judge Mark, do you mind if we excuse ourselves?
You can exit whenever you would like to. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So those other four positions haven't stayed the same as as those in the past?
Yes, they have, but what we did was we brought the JPs up, and then didn't just bring the JPs up, then we brought the JPs up and we passed them.
Okay, but if we do, like Jerry said, the 7.5% and then the 10%, we're still bringing them up.
I don't think you're bringing them up enough, is my point. I think that if we want to go. Okay, this is the same information that you had in your packet before. Okay? So if you look at it, okay, your JPs, our JPs actually make about the same amount of money as NAC, less than Angelina, but they make more than Cherokee County or Rusk County. Kerr County, we don't even count. Okay, the commissioners were right in the hunt as well. Okay, NAC and Angelina, there's about $14,000 difference between them. Then the tax assessor collector, our tax assessor collector is at $56,995. NAC is at $61,905. Angelina is at $69,208. Rusk and Cherokee County are both higher. Our sheriff was right in the hunt. Our auditor, we determined last time, is below, but that's not an elected official. And then our district clerk, county clerk, and treasurer are way below everybody else. The ones selected, they are below everybody. And this is current, so we don't know what any of these, what they're gonna do this time. So my point is that we're already behind the curve with those four positions. And basically, what we did was instead of having all these loose numbers, then we just streamlined the numbers so that they zero out.
If you did 12.5%, that'd bring them up to 60, touch over 64,000.
So you're gonna put them at the same level as, then you're gonna take the JPs down from my recommendation? So you're not creating a gap then?
Do what now?
Then you're not creating a gap. The JPs, under this current recommendation, the JPs are at 64. I'm asking for countywide officials to go to $1,000 more than your JPs.
To distinguish between precincts, not precincts, yeah.
Yeah.
So you had, what, these four, it's 65 even, 64 for JP?
Yeah, that's right there. 64 for all the JPs, including their travel. 65 for the countywide elected officials, including the court. And then you have your travel allowance.
Now, these four, they have county vehicles.
No, sir. They have one county vehicle
One
that
county
they,
vehicle.
that they take with them when they go,
And JP has none.
and we paid it. The JP gets
Right.
paid, but they do not receive any travel allowance.
Right.
And that would be disingenuous to put in their travel allowance, because when you do that, then you're telling the IRS that they use the vehicle in their regular operations every single day, and that it amounts to that amount of money.
Yeah, I'm not going there, I was
Yeah.
making sure, yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am, of course you may, Terry, we're just up here talking away about you.
I don't have a county vehicle, I never have, and I've used my
I
personal
don't either,
vehicle.
just, I share with Shalana, she's not gonna let me borrow hers.
And that's my point, that they share, they don't have.
Yeah, and I use my personal vehicle every day and have for 12 years.
Okay.
I don't go far, but I do go to the bank many times, to pay jurors, so, yeah, pay bills.
Your Honor, is the salaries that you're speaking about
Yes, sir.
weighted against the other counties?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it weighted against revenue? Revenue,
No, sir,
No,
it's
it's not.
Texas pays for the position itself.
okay, so it doesn't take into account the volume of revenue handled by any of these people?
No, that's taken care in staffing.
Okay,
In staffing. The volume of work or the volume of activity is taken care of with staff.
no, I just wanted to clear that there's a comparison for the amount
Yes, sir.
of work done.
Yes, sir. The logical place, if you want to eliminate $5,000, the logical place is in travel. Because your salary is the most stable portion of the money you receive.
Yeah. I know my travel, I eat that up so fast, it doesn't matter. So, yes, but that, I asked for this job and I got it, so.
Well, and I understand.
Yeah.
And they asked for the job and they got it a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
With the expectation, certainly with the expectation that they would not be the lowest paid people in that position.
I appreciate every one of you, the work that I do, I thank you. I'm just trying to be very careful, the same as I would my home budget, how I spend my money and spend the taxpayers' money.
Okay, so if we reduce travel for everybody on the court, okay, if you reduce travel from everybody on the court, then that eliminates your concern, right? Because that takes $5,000 out. Then the salaries would stay the same, so that maintains that. Because then you would have everybody that is countywide making the 65,000. The only thing you would change would be the travel.
I'm not concerned with the travel. I'm not, I mean, I just make sure I understand everything. It just,
And I understand you're not concerned with the travel. What I'm saying is that if what you're trying to balance, right, is you keep the salary, because that's your most intact aspect. If you ever do have to cut the budget, more than likely, I can tell you, when we had that huge deficit, travel was gone. That's the first thing that went, because that's the first thing that has to go. So, to maintain continuity, if you do 65,000 for all elected officials that are countywide, right, and you go up, then that will allow you, then you can reduce the travel if you so wish, and then that will balance it out. Then you're still at 65, with the exception of the sheriff. The sheriff is at 80. And that will allow us to maintain more continuity on our payroll. But the most logical place to remove the money, if the court wishes to remove money from themselves, is going to be in the travel, in the vehicle allowance. Let me rephrase that. It does take the court's travel out of whack with your JP's travel. But it would line up the salaries, and salaries is really more where we need to balance it out.
All right, we gotta make a move on something, don't we?
So again,
I'll reiterate that I believe that those district positions, those 4 positions definitely need to stay at 65.
I agree. So you wanna take all the court, keep the court all at 65 as well, since we're countywide, and then reduce the travel? If what y'all wanna do is reduce anything, then
I
I don't think reducing the travel making much of a difference anyhow.
I'd propose 7.5%.
But
Yeah.
you said you were willing to reduce your salary, so it's the same thing.
It's just different location.
It's your same thing, it comes from the same place. And in the past, when I suggested reducing the travel, none of y'all were interested in that, and I understand. But nevertheless, if you reduce the travel, then you do not negatively impact those 4 positions. And you keep the salaries whole. The importance is to keep the salaries whole. The travel is more flexible.
It's always fun to talk about salaries, isn't it?
Yeah. So keep out at 65 and then drop the travel down to 16.
Why not?
That's about what it'd be, about $4,000.
Which one are you talking about?
But from 7.5% to 14%, whatever, you know, $4,000 difference,
Yes, sir.
roughly.
Yes, sir.
A couple $100.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
that's not,
Huh?
that's really not really making much sense. We might as well just take the recommendation.
That's entirely up to you all.
I'd go with that, we drop the travel allowance down $4,000.
You dropped the travel down to 16 total?
Pardon?
Drop the travel down to 16 total?
16 total.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
Is that coming as a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. So, let me back up. So, we're going to approve everything else as it is?
Just this one page right here.
Correct.
Salary, and the JPs are going,
Everything,
they're getting a 2,000.
so everything else stays the same? And the travel for the court will go to 16?
No, I'm gonna discuss the JP a little bit. I
Okay.
can't speak for the rest of them, but Jamie Jones works, and she runs a lot of people through that court.
Yes, sir.
She
And-
works hard.
And we discuss this. So,
Yes.
so here's the question, I play devil's advocate. Let's say that the next JP never shows up for work.
Maybe they won't get reelected next time, so.
Yeah, but you're still gonna pay them that extra money, that's what you're telling me.
Well, this woman works.
Well, then you're not being a good steward of the taxpayers' dollars, if then you're not gonna bite off that carrot and force the issue, right?
But then again, we're not paying for the work, we're paying for the
We're
position.
paying for the position, and that's why, and you and I discussed this also, that especially in Jamie's case, she is working, I'm not taking that away from her. But at this point in time, she doesn't have space for one more employee in there.
No, it doesn't.
Given the work that comes through that office, does she need another person? Probably,
Oh, without a doubt, she
You know,
does. She don't have
but-
room for it.
but we don't have room for it. Once all the rest of us get out of these janitor's closets and into the courthouse, well then, hopefully we will have some space. Okay, so back to your motion, which was take the travel to 16,000, everything else remains the same.
No, not yet. I mean, a 5%, them, would put them right at $60,000 almost.
Who?
JPs.
No, not actually. When you
No.
count the travel.
56.
No, they're
No,
going
when
to
you count their-
64.
They're
You
right,
have to
yeah.
count their
Yeah,
travel.
You have to count the
They're
travel.
over 60 now.
They're over 60 now.
Well,
Oh, yes.
You got, it's add, you add it together.
yeah, I'm talking about counting the salary, I'm not fooling with their travel expense. I'm talking about the salary.
And they are currently at about 57,000.
Yeah.
And on this, they're recommended to go to 59. With their travel, that takes them to 64. You can't not count the travel. You have to count the travel. They're already over 60. If they're at 57 plus 5,
It's 64 counting the travel.
Yeah, just like all these other,
Correct.
other
Yeah.
positions up there count.
I can see that.
So puts them pretty close to where everybody else is anyhow.
yes, absolutely.
I think you can do 5% and go to 60 on the salary.
So you're still gonna keep them below the JPs.
Do what now?
You're still gonna keep those 4 positions under the JPs.
No, or you're talking about the JPs go to 60, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about JP.
Yeah, instead of 59, go to 60.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take the JPs up even further, then what? We're gonna give them another $1,000?
No.
You have to get them above the JPs, that's part of the problem. Right now, I've got them bumping each other, $1,000 difference between them.
The JP gonna be at 60 plus the travel allowance.
They're at 59
Well,
on the
59
project, they're
when you
at
got the
59
road, yeah.
plus the 5, so they are at 64.
Yeah.
Compared to these people that y'all have been arguing against giving
Well, I
anything
know
to,
that.
that are at 65. They're barely
And I heard Terry.
Terry, do you
I
have a
heard-
comment?
I heard Terry say that
If
you
the
were
travel
on
for the
vehicle.
court is gonna be reduced from 20,000 to 16,000, and the JP.
What's that? You're gonna have
The
to-
travel for the court is reduced from 20,000 to 16,000, and the JPs get a quarter of what the court receives, correct?
Yes, so technically,
So that
technically,
already
using that
satisfies-
same logic, their travel should go down right along with ours. Because they travel 1 week out of the month, and you all travel 4 weeks, as do I. So the logic was that they had 1/4 of the travel. And the sheriff has a car,
And what?
and the sheriff has a vehicle, a county vehicle.
I mean, I know Jamie, she goes a lot.
Okay, whoa,
Travels.
stop. First of all, we shouldn't talk about an individual, but that is irrelevant. In 10 years, we are still gonna be paying for that position. It doesn't matter who is occupying that
I
position.
understand that.
Okay, so the salary of an elected official is based on the list of responsibilities that I gave you on, not on the job performance or the lack of. We cannot evaluate every elected official. We would have to evaluate everybody.
I understand that.
Okay, so-
But these here might not be here either.
Well, nobody's doing
That's
that.
right, I might not be here.
Exactly. So in the meantime, that position needs to be paid what the position is worth. You know, if Bobley's gone in the next 4 or 5 years, and I know she is, so if she's gonna be gone in the next 4 or 5 years, I only hope we get someone that's as good as she is at doing her job. But nevertheless, that person needs to be paid for that position regardless of how they do that position as an elected official. Now, as department heads, we can all do reviews and evaluations, and we do, about employee performance. But we pay for the position. The state of Texas says, these are the positions, this is what you do, this is what you're responsible for. And the ones that questioned are those 4 right there.
Those 4 positions,
For the position.
not person.
Not evaluating work
individuals.
product, not doing anything like that, because they are not employees of the court. They are elected officials. They answer to the voters. And we can change their staffing if and when we have room, but as far as their individual salaries, it is not based on output. And that can change. Matter of fact, it did. A lot of the work shifted from JP1 to JP4,
Yeah.
right? So flick of the wrist and it goes the other direction. Or there's some kind of change. So we have to pay all of them for the position, not based on performance. It's not our job to evaluate their performance.
Well, it is our job.
No, sir, no,
It's
sir.
mine.
No, sir, no, that's an extension, because your job is to set the salary for that position. Then it's the taxpayer's job and the voter's responsibility to evaluate them. But it is not our job to evaluate them. We cannot evaluate performance for something that we don't know anything about. I wanna see who's gonna go evaluate Judge Brown. Who, by the way, just for the record, is currently making $173,000, and that is because that is the minimum amount required by the state. That is the minimum, and he has accepted the minimum. He has never asked us for more money. The state requires that he receive. He catches a lot of grief over that.
I don't know, it's just hard to make it 14% and then go down here at less than 5%.
All I'm trying to do is level the playing field. And unfortunately, I led the charge that unleveled the playing field, and the court agreed, and we have to level the playing field.
Bill's gonna be mad when he knows that you're gonna take 4,000 out of his travel allowance too.
Do I know?
The mill's gonna be upset that you're gonna take 4,000 out of his travel allowance too.
Well, then Commissioner Dubus, what's yours?
Well, like I said, I think $4,000 ain't gonna make or break nothing, you know? That's really not enough.
I don't know,
really
I'm
to scream
all-
on anything, so.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm all right. Sheriff on elected officials, I just don't feel comfortable with the JPs.
Well, it's a little late now for me to go in and have to do that, because if we do that, if we modify the JPs, then we've got to go back and raise all of these. If that's something you wanna think about for next year, we can certainly do that.
I mean, and I'm asking, you keep saying 65, but if you put them to 60, they spend that $5,000 travel
I'm not questioning
once
that.
a month.
Okay.
So
if
they
we do-
won't be up there at 65,000, where the district
Then
clerk.
are we
county
going to
clerk
take,
involved.
then are we gonna take those 4 individuals right there to 66, 67?
No.
Okay, well then you're back to we're beating the same horse. It doesn't matter, somehow you have to get those 4 people above. Because when you do that, then that's gonna drive the court as well. See, it's all connected. You can't pull out because you know that someone works hard. You can't pull them out and exclude them or make them more. I mean, unless you're gonna go evaluate the performance of all the JPs.
No.
Okay, then, again, we're back to the same thing. We pay for that position regardless of performance. The voters decide on performance.
I mean, yeah, we're here to vote, so we're gonna vote. I'm gonna make a motion that we keep everything the way we did it. As far as with county treasurer, county clerk, commissioners, constables, they the same. And, but the JP, we take them to 60. That's my motion. If we get second, we get second. If we don't,
And
we
you're
don't.
taking your travel down to 16?
It's down to 16.
Okay, I can't accept that one.
Pardon?
I said, I can't accept that, because
Okay.
that means I have to go back to the drawing board. Now, if this is something that you wanna wait, and then we can discuss for next year, because right playing field.
Well, that's my motion. And if it gets second, it does, it does, it doesn't.
So we already have a motion for
We have a motion,
65,000 in a second.
Yeah.
For what?
We already have you already made the motion for 65,000 for countywide positions and commissioners court, reduce your travel to 4,000, making that a $16,000, so y'all have a motion and a
Now,
second.
you have a motion to
And I
accept
seconded
this.
it.
Yes,
I seconded
you have a
your
motion
or vote.
to accept this, but reduce the travel to 16,000. You made the motion, she seconded it. So do you wish, you're going to amend your motion, is what you're saying?
Yes, if that includes JP's, I'll suspend that motion.
Okay. You're removing your second?
No, I'll go ahead and say. I'm not happy with, I think
Well, I think that we're gonna have to be really, really careful. If I would ask then in that case, that you go evaluate the other JPs as well, because you are paying for a person, not for a position. And that's creating a problem
Yeah.
for all the other positions. So I think it's a mistake for us to move forward, and especially when you've had information like this for weeks, and the day of, we end up here. Okay. So you're gonna second that motion. Vote your conscience, because this is it.
the thing, we're talking people, but we're really talking positions. And that's-
Make
And
motions,
that's-
whatever, if I agree, I agree, if I don't, I don't. So, there's no hard feelings here whatsoever, so.
I would feel more comfortable with that first.
The first motion?
Motion that you made that I seconded, and
I
I
know.
would the second motion, myself, definitely more comfortable.
Well, now, I mean, I don't know where we're gonna end up, but, okay. Commissioner Dubus, what do you have to say?
First or second motion?
Well, my recommendation
change.
was whenever I sent mine in first, but that included the employees and all. Now, this is just all
So
the
this is just
elected.
salaries.
This
That's-
is just
that's all we
salaries for
can do right
elected
now.
positions.
Mhm.
So it doesn't really include more or less the people that I'm wanting to take care of, Now,
Well,
if I can.
that's always been two separate things.
Yeah.
That's always been two separate
Uh,
things. We can't.
Well, I know, but I'm saying the recommendation that was sent to us prior to this court.
Yeah, no.
I sent it in with everything. Now, if it's gonna benefit the, going
And
back
this
to
is
the
not going to,
employees.
this is not gonna affect the employees.
That's
This
what I
is-
mean, it's not gonna affect the employees.
No, this is
whatsoever.
strictly
Uh,
salaries for elected officials.
It's really, and it's positions.
It's for the position.
Yeah,
It's
it's-
just for the position. I keep emphasizing that.
Well, you don't have to emphasize it, to me, I understand. And I
Yeah, you
know,
said
and I know
multiple times.
that the travel allowance, subscribe with the travel allowance too. And I also know that they have no, some of them can use vehicles off and on as well and stuff too.
Every one of those offices uses their personal vehicles from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
But they do not utilize their vehicles, their personal vehicles, as consistently as JPs do and as consistently as commissioners do. And so that's the reason why there's a travel allowance in there for JPs, and for commissioners, and for myself. So the court and the JPs. I think that this is very fair, okay? I liked your original motion, which was to go to 16. I think that's very fair. I think it's very consistent. I think that we're gonna be right back here again next year, unless we have an appeal, and we very well may have an appeal from elected officials with regards to their pay. Because I do think that we have to be fair to everybody. Not one individual or two individuals out of four compared to everybody else.
I mean, what's not fair about it?
what's not fair is that these people up here are not getting any travel money. They have countywide responsibility. They're the lowest paid individuals in our surrounding area. And you are not wanting to provide $1,000 difference between this group down here that gets paid to utilize their vehicle and this group up here that does not get paid to utilize their vehicle. When in fact, they do utilize their vehicle from time to time, and their responsibilities are way wider. The district clerk, back to the district clerk, since I used her before, she has to take the work product of all 4 of these people and 2 district judges.
Actually, both offices.
Well,
what?
I said actually both offices.
So the work product that these 4 generate goes to them. So they get 4 times the work, not 1 time the work, 4 times the work, just from these elected officials right here. Right now, I can't keep up with how many motions we have.
We had the original.
Okay, the original motion, which was
Second one.
keep this as it is, but reduce the travel to 16,000 for the court. Do you have a different motion, Commissioner Davis?
I mean, I would go with the recommendation as far as, you know, if he wants to take the 4, you know.
Leave everything else the same.
Well, y'all, I made a motion, nobody seconded it, so
It's-
it's in y'all hands.
It's dead.
Not out of my hands.
It's died, it's dead. Now, the original motion did not die. Your first motion was the minus 16, and then you had a second.
But that's
So
when
do you want to revert back to your
Yeah,
original motion?
That's when I opened my mouth too fast. And JP.
Do you wish to revert to your original motion?
We did already.
No, you still have.
You amended your motion to
amended your
include
motion.
JP's at 60,000.
So do you wish to go back to your original motion? Okay. Then I need a motion from someone over
JP
here,
was 60.
because that second one died for lack of a second.
The first one didn't.
The first motion is still hanging,
That's right, hang on.
but then he amended it. So now, do you wish to go to the original motion, which was for it to remain in force, but take the travel to 16?
The original, just like Jerry Wayne had.
Yep. Yes?
I've,
As it is, but take the travel to 16,000.
truth, yeah. Well, Jerry Wayne.
You know what your motion
You made a motion just like I made earlier, that I made.
Yes, so we're asking if you're gonna second it. Or Jerry Wayne second it.
Somehow we've got to get this done.
Well, I'll
folks.
second her motion that she
Okay.
approved.
Any more discussion? Anybody? No? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Me, I vote.
Very well. So motion passes 3-1. Okay. Let me get back to my agenda. Okay. Commissioner Cassidy, it's your turn to make a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, what time is it now?
11:40.